Is Toby Cordeliu. I am the Director of Enrollment and Strategic Enrollment Management and Strategic Initiatives. Get my own title wrong. With the MSC program, the Master's of Science and Communication program here at Northwestern University. And I am excited for all of you today to learn more about the program. And we have some staff and alumni here to talk with you about the program and answer any questions that you might have. But we're going to start with an introduction. I want to welcome Ruth Ann Cameron from the Benefits Office, who is going to talk to us briefly about the staff tuition benefit, which has gone through some changes in the past few years and is incredibly generous and something that we should all know about in the context of the MSC program or our future as Northwestern staff and employees. But wanted to turn it over here quickly to Ruth Ann so that she can tell us a little bit about it and then go off on her merry way and not have to sit through the whole rest of the presentation. But Ruth Ann, thanks so much for taking part of your day today to talk to us about this terrific benefit. Here is what we have for your first slide.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Toby. Hi, everyone. I am Ruth Ann from the Benefits Office. And the slide that Toby pulled up is from our website. So if you have other questions, I recommend everybody go to the Northwestern Benefits website and look under tuition. If you are a Northwestern employee who is full-time, you are eligible for a 90% discount on the tuition for classes taken at Northwestern. So the difference between these two columns, you can see the employee reduced tuition and the enhanced tuition, is that you require two things. To get the better deal, the enhanced employee tuition discount, you have to have 3 years of full-time service. That's the bottom line, and a salary less than $100,000. So the benefit is the same. It's just one is coded Plan ID, ER versus EER. There is a cap also that gets removed when you are under the enhanced tuition benefit. So basically, you apply for the discount through the Benefits Office, and we look at your eligibility. We tell the Student Accounts Office that you are a full-time benefits eligible employee. There is bottom line, no service requirement. So if you're newly hired in January and you're applying to take the class in spring, you could take the class and get a 90% discount. There is a cap though of $12,000 that would apply. So if you're brand new, you would have a cap on the benefit of $12,000. But if you qualify with the 3 years of service, less than $100,000 in salary, the cap of $12,000 is removed. I'll do simple math for you to give you an example. So let's pretend a class that you take is $1,000, just the regular cost of the class. Your discount is 90%. You pay 10%. What the Benefits Office is tracking to that annual limit of $12,000, if you're a newly hired employee, is that difference between the $1,000 class and the 90% discount of $900. So we're tracking that $900. You paid $100. So we're keeping tabs of that benefit, and it is capped at $12,000 if you're just in that first column, employee reduced tuition. Again, if you're in the other column, that $12,000 cap goes away, so long as you're under $100,000 in salary. How do you apply? Toby, do you want to advance? Thank you. You go online, you go through My HR. We prefer the Firefox browser. We don't have as many issues with that particular browser. Pretty straightforward, just go into My HR. You're using your NetID and password, the same as you do with your email here at Northwestern. You click on the benefits tile, then click on the My Benefit Tuition application, submit new application. So it's going to ask you questions and prompt you. Make sure that you always put in the tuition benefit year. So you're going to put in 2021. This is a once per calendar year thing that you have to do. You only do it once. That we send that information again over to the Student Accounts Office to let them know to apply the 90% discount to your student account. And again, it's going to ask you which plan ID, the ER or the EER. And then you just follow the prompts all the way through. Now, this particular online application, it does take about 4 weeks for us to process because we are, like many other offices, understaffed, and it takes a human being to look at your eligibility to make sure everything is right, and then to bundle that data and send it over to student accounts. So make sure you plan everything appropriately. Don't expect that I'm going to do this the day before my class starts and then expect the tuition to be applied. So you just have to make sure you do all of this with enough lead time. The two things are not associated, meaning you register for your class separately through CSER, you pay your portion of the bill, and this piece you do once per calendar year as early as you possibly can. So they are separated. So the tuition benefit and you applying for your class, registering for your classes are separate. I just want to point that out. I think that's it from me. Any questions that you may have, you can forward them to us. It's the email that we use for tuition is tuition-benefits@northwestern.edu. Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you so much, Ruth Ann. One question that I have very quickly that I get pretty often from Northwestern staff that are applying is what their first action should be and what the kind of relationship between benefits and financial aid, the financial aid office is. It sounds like the first thing to do is apply, since this takes maybe 4 to 6 weeks, and then that connection, the magic between the financial aid office and benefits happens after that.
Yeah, always do this piece that you're seeing on your screen first, because all that does is tell student accounts that you are eligible, but student accounts cannot apply the discount unless you've registered for a class. So we always suggest do this piece first, since it does take a little bit of time, well ahead of the class beginning. And so that when you do register for your class, they'll search for the data at student accounts so that they can apply that discount to the class that appears up in the CSER system.
All right. Wonderful. If there are no other questions for Ruth Ann, you have permission to leave. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we'll pass on any questions that come our way to your team as well.
Perfect. Happy to help.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. The next, I wanted to move into a little bit more of the MSC centric topics, but first I wanted to kind of get us all in the right frame of mind, right? Why are you here? Introductions in general. Think about, as we're moving through and talking about what we're going to talk about today, what is it that's motivating you to consider grad school, right? I know that we're all busier than we've ever been potentially in our lives. And so as you think about taking on this extra time, extra money thing in your life, what's the motivation? What's the inspiration? And what criteria specifically are you using to decide which program is the best for you, right? Curriculum, cost, alumni network. There's a million different things that you might be considering. And hopefully we'll talk about a lot of those today. And hopefully the people that do the lion's share of the talking is not me, but two of our distinguished alumni that we have with us today, Amanda Barlow Reynolds and Nicole Vicari. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves by starting with just a brief introduction, kind of when you graduated from the program, what you're currently doing, what your job is here at Northwestern, and then we'll get into more details of your motivation around the MSc in just a moment. But Amanda, do you mind?
Nope, I don't mind. Hi, everybody. As Toby said, my name is Amanda Barlow Reynolds. I currently work at Kellogg School of Management. I am the Director of IT Support Services. What does that mean? I pretty much oversee classroom support, computing support, and event support for Kellogg. We have over 4 programs at Kellogg. That's full-time, part-time, evening, part-time is evening, weekend, undergrad certificate, and we have executive programs. So I pretty much support all those programs at the school at various locations. I graduated a class of 2019, but I have an affinity to class of 2018 because they were the class I started with. So
Great. We'll try to remember to talk about that later, how so it's not uncommon for Northwestern staff to kind of stretch the program out to take the most advantage of the tuition benefit. But thank you, Amanda. Welcome. Nicole?
Thank you. Thanks, Amanda. Thanks, Toby. Hey, everybody. So my name is Nicole Vicari. I work in the Office of Risk Management. I am an industrial hygiene and environmental health and safety specialist. And as Amanda asked, what does that mean? And so I help the university comply with, generally speaking, safety and health regulations. So pre-COVID, we were very busy. And now in the COVID life, we're still maintaining all of that plus COVID. So if you've seen anything with risk management and COVID here at NU, that is a lot of my hard work. So I hope you found it helpful and well communicated. And so with that, I have also been recently appointed by the Chief Compliance and Risk Officer to a special project, helping some of our COVID-19 implementations. And so I recently started managing a team on top of my role. And as Toby said, we'll talk more about that, but MSC played a large role in me kind of putting myself out there and getting this opportunity. Yeah, thanks, Amanda. So it's exciting. I'm excited to share those experiences with you guys today.
Nice. That's terrific. Congratulations, or I'm sorry, I'm not sure what the right response is for your new role.
I'll take both, Toby.
Okay, great. Good. Wonderful. Well, I think that a lot of, we do some surveying and have a fair amount of research about kind of the motivations that for a lot of people when considering coming into the program. And these are the three that kind of appear the most, right? People are interested in a semi-dramatic career change. They want to do something different, change industries or change job functions. A lot of people interested in just advancing within the role or the organization that they're a part of. And then a lot of people check this box that says personal growth. I'm pretty pleased where I am. I just want to do what I'm doing better. Do these three, do any one of those particularly resonate with you, Nicole, as when you think about what was happening in your world when you decided it was time to go back to school?
Yeah, Toby, that's a great question. And I hate to be one of those, D above all, or
Sure.
All of the above, but truly all three of those definitely happened for me. I will say my immediate goal was career change and advancement. But truly, when I finished the program, I gained more personal growth than I ever could have thought, which kind of overspilled into the career change and advancement. But the personal growth is a lot deeper than I think the first two.
Sure. How about you, Amanda? What was happening in your world when you said, I want to go to school every Saturday for a year?
I'd have to agree with Nicole. There should be a D option here because all three did apply. I will admit at the beginning, I was looking at what you would call your second chapter of your life. So the career change was the impetus to apply because I'm in IT. I work with a lot of guys and it's great. However, there are other aspirations that I have that I want to delve into. And so career change was probably the most prominent one. But I will tell you, it was probably 4 months after I graduated. I was an associate director and I got promoted to the director because of going through the program. And then from a personal growth, I totally agree with Nicole, because this whole experience was, if you come into the program with just an open mind and you allow yourself to be vulnerable, I think you'll get more out of it. And that's how I experienced that. That was my experience. When I came out of it, I was much more confident than I was going into it.
Yeah, that's terrific. And we can talk about that a little bit more too, as we get into the curriculum and kind of where that confidence comes from. But I think that I want to frame this a little bit very quickly about kind of the MSc program and why we exist, right? And so the program is almost 40 years old and was created back in the early 80s by a couple faculty. And in kind of a response or an alternative to students interested in MBAs, right? Is there something else that I can do? And over the years, the program has evolved quite a bit. And then a little bit of research came out of the Wall Street Journal. This is back in, I want to say late 2018 or early 2019. They surveyed just under 900 executives, and 92% of them said that soft skills, communication skills, were equally or more important to staff performance than technical skills. And the same kind of 90% said that they have a really hard time finding people with, I'm not crazy about the term soft skills, but what we call these kind of critical business skills of communication and interpersonal, intrapersonal, interorganizational communication skills. And so this is clearly a very wide gap out in the workforce, and it's a gap that we believe we're working to fill by providing people with the skills, toolkit, whatever you want to use to describe it, abilities to fill this gap and then set yourself apart and give yourself kind of a competitive advantage in the workplace. That leads to, as Nicole and Amanda were talking about, new opportunities and promotions, etc. Briefly, let's talk about I'm going to get into the structure of the program. So we're part of the School of Communication. Within the School of Communication is the Communication Studies Department. The MSC program is part of that. And we have two delivery models or formats available, our custom leadership program and our hybrid leadership program. Nicole and Amanda were both students in the custom program, but we're going to talk about both today as we move through, if anybody has any questions about the kind of breakdown or difference in those two programs. The logistics of the custom program are, it's just under 12 months. So you start in September and graduate in August. So everybody knows we're on quarter system here at Northwestern. You take 2 classes per quarter. So classes are on Saturdays. We're talking now about just so everybody's on the same page, anybody thinking about applying right now would be applying for a fall starting in September. And we all know all of the, we all know the unknowns. That's my good communication coming out. We all know how complicated all of the decision-making can be for where we're going to be in this fall. God willing, we're all going to be back in person. So we're going to be talking in that frame that we're going to be back in person in the fall. So that means we're going to have classes in person on Saturdays, 1 in the morning as a core class that everybody takes together, and then 1 in the afternoon, an elective class, which will be a smaller group of people. The hybrid program, it's the same amount of time, 4 academic quarters. It's a little bit different delivery model. The majority of the courses are delivered online. You take 1 class at a time, and each class is accelerated in that it's 5 weeks instead of 10 weeks. And then we have 4 what we call in-residence sessions, where you're coming to campus for 2.5-day sessions in person. And we have students from all over the country coming into the hybrid program. So when we talk about this, going back quickly to the custom program timeline, you've got these big buckets of friends and family and work, and nobody has any time to do anything. And now you're adding this every Saturday plus studying outside. Amanda, can you talk to us about time management in general? How did you do it? How did you fit the MSc program into your, what I'm sure was already a very busy schedule?
Well, I have to tell you, Toby, the secret to my success was my partner. And we have 2 kids. At that time, they were in their tweens, if you will, and very active in sports and band and what have you. And my partner was able to take that load off and allow me to just focus on school and work. And so I probably spent 20 hours a week on my studies and outside of class. And I chose the custom program because I really wanted to be in the class, collaborating with other students, getting to know them, being a part of what I felt was a very diverse community in that regard. And to do this, I really cannot emphasize having a boss, because I had a boss who supported me as well. And luckily I didn't have to take any time during the week off, but because it's a weekend program. But at the same time, if I needed to take a day off because I wanted to finish something, there was some flexibility there. But my partner was just hands down the best part of the support that I could ever ask for in going through this program.
Yeah, I think that's an important lesson, right? To be sure that you're getting buy-in from the people in your world. I don't think I mentioned earlier, I'm an alum of the program too. I graduated back in 2012. And my orientation was 2 weeks after my second child was born. I don't recommend it for anybody, but my partner as well, she was, all in. She like kind of understood that this is for the family, and there aren't a ton of pictures of me and my son for that first year. But it's, you make it work. Nicole, I'm sure you're crazy busy too. How did you fit this in?
Yeah, and also I realized one of your first questions, Toby, I didn't answer. I did graduate recently in August of 2020. So half my time in MSC was remote and during COVID. So it was about half and half because it was mid-March. So that is something to consider. But I'm still speaking positively of the whole experience. Everyone adapted really well. But Toby, to answer your question now with time management, so not quite new baby, but I was newly married. So Toby and Amanda, I did lean on my husband at the time, and he really, and my family, I basically said, I'm going to be MIA for a little bit, but when I'm around, like, please make yourselves available and like, let's see each other. But I saw everybody a little bit less, but everyone was supportive. And I spent similar time frame, Amanda, I would say anywhere from like 10 to 20 hours a week on assignments. And some really great advice I got from a friend of mine before I started the program was reassess and inventory how you spend your time right now. And you'll find that some of it you don't want, and you should fill that with school, and you should fill that and realize that you're doing that. And sure enough, I was able to weed out a lot of nothingness and find the time. And what I mean by that is, just kind of, I don't know, things that weren't really bringing me joy or learning. And that was something I really wanted out of grad school. So even though I was putting that much time into it, some of that time wasn't being well spent to begin with. So I feel like it wasn't just a 20-hour loss a week. There was some net gain there as well.
Yeah, you sound like Marie Kondo. If it doesn't spark joy, then remove it from your life. And that's.
But it's true. It's totally true.
I like it. No, I think it's important. And it's one aspect of now, as we kind of move into the curriculum, I think everybody's considering is, you guys talk about 10 to 20 hours a week of outside study. The thing, and it sounds like potentially it can be a burden, but I think that what is important to understand is that you're choosing this, right? Because these are topics and disciplines and concepts and theories that you're fascinated by and interested in. So it's not like the undergrad class that you had to take to complete something. These 10 to 20 hours a week are spent doing things that kind of spark joy, right? That are exciting to you. So the homework isn't a burden. It's something that you kind of look forward to. The way the curriculum is designed is we kind of talk about these three core curricular themes of managing complexity, collaborative leadership, and elegant communication. So now we're switching modes a little bit and talking about what you're going to learn. What is the content here? These three learning themes have been recognized after we did an extensive curriculum review about 5 years ago of the 35 previous years of MSc curriculum. And these were the things that were constantly present, right? In kind of what it is that we teach. And I think that for me, it's easy to think of times in my life, professional, even in personal life, when one of these themes has been missing, right? It's easy to think of times in our lives when we've seen complexity managed poorly, or people leading in a non-collaborative fashion or communicating in an inelegant fashion. And so what we work on in the program are ways to enhance these skills for you through a combination of conceptual knowledge and applied knowledge. What does that mean? Conceptual knowledge is the knowledge that exists in the faculty and in the theories and concepts that they present and that you study with them. To be a little bit silly, right? You can get a lot of that with the library card, right? We're curating it. The professors are the ones that are saying, this is the important research. This is the good stuff. But adding that applied knowledge category, this is the knowledge that exists within you and your classmates. And so a fundamental truth of the MSc program is that this marriage of theory and practice, this marriage of what are the concepts that academics have studied and what is actually happening in the real world is fundamental to what we do. And I think probably we would all agree critical to, really making sure that this is useful. So a lot of the program is taking what you learn on Saturday and trying to apply it and act it, figure it out on Monday, right? I'm going to try to make some of these things work. And then coming back to class the next week and saying, that didn't work for me, or it worked better than I thought. And then having that conversation, right? And so then you have this new knowledge that is specifically unique to you and your experience in your cohort. And so the core courses that you're going to kind of get some of this from in the custom program are here on the screen. Leading collaboration, change management, understanding and leveraging networks, communication management, and ethics. You can go to our website and learn about these courses in more detail. And then we've got a long list of electives. These change a little bit from year to year, nothing too dramatic. You have generally 3 or 4 electives to choose from each quarter. Nicole, put you on the spot. Did you have a favorite class? Do any of them stand out to you?
Yeah, so I've actually been reflecting the last few days on what my favorite was, and I narrowed it down to like 4, which is about a half of the curriculum.
You only took 8, right? Okay.
Exactly. So that's not helpful. But I did think of one that I wanted to call out, and that is leading collaboratively with Dr. Leslie DeChurch. And why I say that one for this question is it's literally the first class. So it's in the first quarter in the morning, and so it's with your whole cohort, and Leslie does an incredible job setting the foundation for the program, and the skills and information you gain from that class set such a great foundation for future courses. I still think about the Strengths Finder test, and for the alum here, you might remember that that was over a year ago for me, but it helped really articulate who I am as a leader and who I want to be. And that was something I never got to put some words on, put some names on, and put some studies behind. And so that course really changed the trajectory, I think, for where I wanted to go. And the things I learned about my cohort, all the people, the things that we shared in that class were so personal. It was so new. It was so exciting that people, like Amanda said, that were so vulnerable from the get-go and so open-minded, that it really set the pace for the rest of the year to be that shared environment of vulnerability and openness.
That's terrific. I think that that's a really great, like you were saying, kind of mentality that you're both describing. Coming into the program with an open mind is incredibly important. Amanda, how about you? Any classes stick out as particularly memorable?
Well, it's interesting. When I was taking the classes, I was all geared up for a lot of these topics. And I would agree with you, the church is awesome in leading collaboration. And that class is great in so many ways. We didn't get to do Strength Finder, so I'm kind of jealous. But
we'll have to talk about that another time, Amanda.
I think understanding and leverage networks was a really good one for me, because in that one, I believe that's the one that God, I'm blanking on his name. And he teaches Kellogg.
Nashir, contractor, yeah.
Yeah. Contractor taught that course. And what I liked about that course, it is like life-changing, because you can, he talks about board of directors in your life, and how do you leverage other networks through not only your job, but other organizations, even in your personal life, that can help build you and build a board of directors that help you with making decisions as you go throughout, managing these complex situations that are out there. And so I would have to say that his class was one of my favorites. And my other one that was one of my favorites was, actually I have 2 more. One is Amy Hounstein's workplace learning. What I got out of that, what I really loved about that kind of, one of the things I would like to do, and it's the reason I went for my master's, is that I want to be able to teach as an adjunct. And that class just, she goes over how to build curriculum, how to package it, how to market it, and how to sell it, And so I think that one is another one that I will probably forever use. And some of the things the exercises we went through, we learned how to do it hands-on as you went through the course. And that was so beneficial. And then probably the last one, which was a surprise to me, and then I only ended up taking it because one of my classes I wanted wasn't available, and it was the nonprofit leadership. And I was just like blown away from what I got out of that class, because I never thought about nonprofit. Yes, we work in academia, but this is like taking you from zero to the top about how to build a nonprofit, understanding fundraising, understanding how do you teach your volunteers, your board of directors for your non-for-profit organization. So there were really three, Toby. It's kind of hard to select the whole program.
Do you want to talk about the other five? I mean, no, I'm joking.
But you know what, Toby, I have to say this, I came in, I'm a life learner. That's how I define myself. And so I think that makes it easy because all of these classes are so interesting, and it depends on what you need or are looking for in your life. And sometimes you don't even know what you need, and it just comes out of nowhere, like the nonprofit class. And it's just, you can apply all these things in so many ways. And being a person who's in IT, I want to go back to your soft skills. A lot of people do poo-poo soft skills, especially in IT. And so this program gave me more confidence sitting at the table, saying that what I do adds a lot of value. And when you're supporting an organization, you need those soft skills to help people. And so I just think that this program is awesome.
Yeah, so it's come up twice now, and I have other slides, but I want to talk about this instead. A lot of people that graduate from the program talk about a more higher, a renewed or growth in their confidence. Can you unpack that a little bit? Can you draw a straight line between your MSC experience and this increased confidence, Amanda?
Yeah, and just going back to just what I was saying with IT, being at this level in IT, it's just you and a bunch of tech people around the table. How do I say this? There's a lot of men, and you're the only woman at the table. Mm-hmm. And being the only woman at the table, sometimes your voice gets lost because it's not speaking all the technical jargon. And I understand the technical jargon, but I also know that what's important is that we are able to speak clearly to our constituents about what we're trying to do. Because if you can't convince them or make them feel at ease about using technology, then you're not going to make a lot of headway. And so that was just so important for me to be able to do that. And I was doing that. But like I said, coming out of this program, just getting the bits and pieces, collaboration, the whole idea of having someone at the table who is your, what do you call it? Deviant or, not deviant.
That's right. Yeah.
It is deviant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That will go against what you say and not take it personal, but understand that they're looking out they're not being the yes person at the table. And you always want to have that person who is not the yes person. And early on, I changed my team just to make sure that I always had someone on the team that I knew was going to speak against what I think is right. And so that was, to me, a huge aha moment. And, most people, you take that for granted, but or you don't listen to that person. And sometimes I'm at the table who is being that deviant that's telling people you need to think about it differently. So,
right.
That's what I could contribute to as being hands-on.
Sure.
Confidence.
So people that haven't been through the program, deviant is a term that comes up in the team, in the leading collaboration courses. It's this person that, when we think about deviant in our everyday conversation, it's the person that's not acting well or acting out or doing something bad. But the team's research out of Leslie and even Roloff and Nashir's, all of them will talk about this necessity to have this 11th person saying, you know what, maybe we're moving in the right direction. I'm going to be the person to say, let's stop and pause and talk a little bit longer about other alternatives is kind of the idea. I want to move through the HLP curriculum and then keep talking about your guys' experience. So the hybrid program, as I was saying before, is one course at a time. These courses kind of come in a specific order and build upon each other. Like I said, you're taking most of these online in 5-week increments. And then we have our 4 different in-residence sessions that are in, throughout the year. The first one is August with orientation, the cultural intelligence, and then crisis communication in December, leading collaboration and negotiation in April, executive presence in August, and graduation. So those are the kind of breakdown of the hybrid curriculum. And then everybody gets a capstone project. Capstone project is, it's poorly named. It makes it sound like it's one thing, and it's actually 3 things, where we talk about this visual portfolio, your kind of annotated bibliography of your experience, applied learning, doing either a case interview or an applied research project. And then understanding a lot about your own personal brand and your own professional identity and developing that along the way. We could definitely spend an hour talking about the capstone project, and as luck would have it, we're going to in a month. I'm not going to spend a ton of time going into the capstone project right now with the two of you, because I know that you have different experiences and there's a lot to unpack with it, other than to say, what's your tweet length description of your capstone experience? Nicole.
I mean, so as Toby's alluding to, it's a ton of work. So it's hard to sum up, but I will say simply to take a ton of information from different parts of your curriculum and different parts of classes and kind of where you are in your career and your life at that time, what you're gaining from it, to consolidate all of that and put it onto, so some people do it on a website, to illustrate it in that way was truly like the culmination of the program for me. And I think without the capstone, I wouldn't have been able to kind of like tie the bow on my entire experience the way, and tying a bow makes it sound very simple, and it was not. But I think taking all of the skills you learn from each class, each professor, and then doing it your own way. The rules for the project are, I'm not going to say loose, but they're vague, and they're there to get your own creativity juices flowing. And I found that exhilarating, and I'm really excited. I still have it bookmarked, and I still visit it just so I can give myself a pat on the back occasionally.
Well, that's part of it. So this visual portfolio is this kind of running, we call them artifacts. Every time there's a piece of the program, whether it's a paper or a project or something like that, that resonates with you, you add it to your website or this annotated bibliography of your experience. And then the expectation or hope is that you can revisit this throughout the rest of your experience in the program, and then throughout the rest of your career. You know, I mean, this wasn't something that I got to do. So I'm digging through cardboard boxes full of spiral notebooks to try to remember some of the things that we talked about. And now all of you have this, you know, online portfolio that you kind of get to click on that's sortable and easy for you to access for the rest of your life. So I'm kind of jealous. And then the other piece is the applied learning and the professional identity are very tactical, very hands-on, it's really leaning on that kind of practical side of the theory of the marriage between the theory and practice. So, but like I said, we're going to have a webinar in just a few more weeks, unpacking that in a lot more detail. Amy Hounstein, as you mentioned, Amanda, is going to be presenting on that. The faculty, we've talked a little bit about it. Here's a quick glimpse into some of the recognition that our faculty have earned over the past couple of years. I'll let you guys all read through that. The faculty in the MSc program are really a special group of people. It's, without going into too much detail, the MSc program, teaching in the MSc doesn't fulfill the teaching requirements, count towards the teaching requirement of faculty at Northwestern. So all of the professors in our program are choosing to teach in the program, and to a person, they will tell you it's because of the students. It's because they get to test some of their research on the students to see if it's legit. Mike Roloff, who I was just mentioning before, said he's been teaching in the program for since the beginning. He said the MSc students have made me a better scholar, and it's because you're holding their feet to the fire, saying, I understand what you're saying, but I think it's wrong. And let me show you some examples. And like I said, we've talked about some of the faculty before. You mentioned Leslie DeChurch. She is working on a cool grant with NASA right now. She's on the Journey to Mars project with NASA and helping them figure out how to quantify teamwork, essentially, right? We're going to send a group of people to Mars. We want to make sure that they don't kill each other when they get there. And Leslie has access to the people in the biodome and is putting them through crazy crisis sleep deprivation exercises and things like that to measure people's ability to get along in stressful situations, and then connecting that to what's happening with the Journey to Mars project. So if NASA trusts her to send people to Mars, we're going to trust her to teach you about team dynamics. This is Michelle Shoemate, who you mentioned, teaches a nonprofit class. Anybody will have an opportunity to, this is a quick plug for 2 weeks from tomorrow. Michelle is doing a webinar talking to us about first impression research and how to, massage your first impression skills. They'll be highly interactive. I encourage anybody that has an opportunity to join. And then just quickly, I think that working at a place like Northwestern, we all recognize and understand that these are experts, these are scholars, these are really, really smart people. They're also brilliant teachers. And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the accessibility, right? And they're people that are more than just talking heads for 3 hours a week. My quick story is that Mike Roloff, who teaches the change management class, after I graduated, I got a promotion where I was going to be managing a group of people who had previously been peers, right? So it's this kind of awkward transition to be kind of in charge of the people that we'd all previously been on the same level. And he taught the change management course. And so I sent him an email and said, I don't know if you remember me, it's been a year, but this is happening in my world. Do you have any advice, or is there anything that I could read that might help point me in the right direction to get off on the right foot? And within 24 hours, I get this 3-page email back from him with different things to read and articles to check out, and then some of his own personal advice, like do's and don'ts and things like that. And then this invitation to, keep in touch as we move through it. And that was, I mean, as much as I got out of the program, that was as valuable as anything, just having that kind of partner through that transition, again, over a year after I graduated from the program. Does that resonate? I'm sure you guys have experiences with faculty as well along the way. Anything to add? Go ahead. Yeah.
No, I mean, Amy was very approachable. I mean, Leslie was very approachable. Randy was very approachable too, and he still is, and some of these professors, the whole program, all of you have made it very easy for us to, as alum and as when we were students, to reach out if we had an issue or if we need additional explanation of something or guidance on what we were doing at the time and even what I'm trying to do now. So I can't say enough about how each of these people were magnificent in what they do. I was just thinking about Paul, I think it was Paul Arden, who did leadership and decision making, and for him to just talk about community, that was amazing to me. I don't know. I could gush over this program for hours. I should stop talking. You might want to get somebody else to start talking.
No, it's great, and it's important because it makes it personal and relatable. So that's terrific. Nicole?
Yes, I could also gush over quite a few people, especially those that you've mentioned. I will say, Amy Hounstein, Amanda had mentioned her workplace learning course, and I am slowly moving towards a dream of mine is to own my own consulting business, and it would involve environmental training. And I confided in Amy before that course started in something that I really wanted to get out of the program, very personal, right? And something that I could benefit from. And that not only excited her, but she helped make my time in that class to a point that I could develop materials and take them from there and actually use that as some sort of proposal or just to remind me that I can do it. And she has been a resource since graduation. She's also written a letter of reference for me for a job that I applied for. And I didn't get the position, but she made me cry is how kind she was. So honestly, it was a win-win of how that went. And the faculty is always so approachable. Michelle Shoemate, pictured in the right here on the slide, she made me think of going into the nonprofit field, especially for environmental advocacy. And she helped me realize that I can be on a board without changing my career. And they teach you things beyond this curriculum that really change, the course of your life. And they do it from a place of like genuine kindness. As Toby said, they don't have to be in this program, to meet their requirements. And so they love the challenge that we bring, and but also the laughs. Like a ton of camaraderie and hilarity, and just I really, really miss my Saturdays. I can't believe I'm saying that, with the freedom of graduation, but I do. I miss that that energy that everybody had, including the faculty. Right? They were one of us in the trenches.
Yeah, that's a great transition. I think that that should be our new tip. Come to MSC, we'll make you cry. Is maybe something we should test with the marketing. Folks.
That would be a true statement. I could say that on behalf of a lot of my cohorts.
You just talked about the community. So we've talked about the curriculum and faculty, but there are also, depending on the program, a lot of other people that you're going to be going through this experience with. And so you can kind of look over these numbers here on your own to get a sense of the class makeup for the two different formats. But the message that I think comes out in this slide and the next couple slides is a message of diversity in terms of classroom makeup, right? And so we talk about diversity in terms of professional background, academic background, cultural background. We have a wide range. I think the age range was about 35 years in the last couple cohorts, right? People in their early 20s and people in their mid to late 50s, early 60s in the program. And that really makes for a unique learning experience to have so many people from so many different backgrounds. And so you get a glimpse there of the industries represented and the job functions represented at the bottom. Here's a quick slide to show it's not industries necessarily that would pop into the top of your head when you think about a communication program, right? It's not all advertising and PR, folks. Finance, healthcare, nonprofit, media, government, etc., represented in the program, and you still see nothing over 10% of the class. And so that's deliberate by us to make sure that no particular industry or job functioning is dominating the program in terms of conversation or representation. Industries, and then let's talk about that for a minute. The classroom makeup. I don't know what the right question is, but tell me the role of your classmates in your experience, Nicole.
I would say they played a role equivalent to the faculty, if not a greater role. And reason being is most of the time in the classroom is spent guided by the faculty or facilitated by them, but then they kind of let us loose, right? They let us be in our groups or pairs or as an entire class or on our own for a bit and digest the data and the research, right? And then speak from experience. And because Amanda and I have said people are coming from this place of vulnerability and openness, you find yourself sharing experiences maybe from a perspective you've never thought of before, right? So it might be a story you've told before or a memory you have, but now you're coming from this different lens and you're able to share that with a group, and then other people either affirm what you're saying or give you a completely different perspective. And so that's kind of on top of the data, right? That science, the teaching, that the technical things, it gives you some kind of that soft knowledge of how other people take it. And as Toby said, there's tons of industries. I was the only person from an environmental health and safety background, which I was very excited about because it's a very niche industry. And to hear people from a finance background and healthcare, you know, what they think about some decisions that I've had to make and things like that is just incredibly humbling, because everyone coming from this place of kindness and openness really helps you value your experiences. Whether you're, you know, in your late 20s or you're in your 50s, everyone is kind of respected in that they've been through some stuff, right? And we have some things to share and, you know, learn from each other.
No, I mean, it's a highly collaborative program, right? And that's, I think it's what part of the reason is because of the diversity, right? Because you're not all competing for the same job when you graduate. You're not all competing for anything at all. It's all kind of, we're in this together, we're working together to move through the program at the same pace and pick each other up along the way. Does that resonate, Amanda? Tell me a little bit more about the role of your classmates and your experience.
It does resonate. You know, the part of the reason selecting this program was because of the diversity that I saw when I came to the info session. Mm-hmm. And then it was really nice to see once I actually got into the program that diversity was through and through, you know. And I think what's great about it is that you do get different perspectives. You get, you know, you get someone who probably just finished college and went into the program and doesn't have a lot of experience. And then you get people who do have experience. And then you have people from different genders and their experience. You have, you know, social economical backgrounds that they come in with different viewpoints of how things are. You know, being a gay person, that was huge to be able to even share my life experiences in a class on specific topics. And I just think that makes that diverse group does so much to build collaboration, but more importantly, different points of view of the same topic. You know, Randy's class is probably the ethics one was a good one, where having diversity in the room, it made for tough conversations, but good conversations. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. And that's, I mean, we don't all work in office or, you know, especially at an institution where everybody looks the same and it has come from the same background, and understanding how to negotiate those relationships and agreements and disagreements and conflict and all of that behavior is important. And having a kind of safe space in the program like this to frankly practice that, right, is a learning in and of itself. I just saw my watch. I know we're way over time. We're going to keep going. If anybody needs to leave, we certainly get it. This is recorded and we're going to share it with everybody when we're done here, but we're going to keep pushing through here.
I will need to drop right at 1.
Okay, great. No problem. I'm going to click on these all at once. And so we've got this kind of list. I call them fringe benefits. I apologize for the garbage truck in the background if anybody's hearing that too. So there's a lot more than just showing up, going to class and going home. Academic advising is part of the program, opportunities to sit down with an assistant director in the program to talk about how to choose electives, what path to take, how to take advantage of these. We have different social events spread throughout the year. A large holiday party in December that we very sadly missed this last year, but in years past, we've had upwards of 200, 250 alumni from the MSC program coming back for that. A happy hour in the spring. Cultural intelligence series, diversity, equity, inclusion are certainly through theme with the MSC program. So opportunities to continue conversations about cultural intelligence and DEI issues as they relate to the curriculum and as they don't relate to the curriculum, just because they're important things that we should all be talking about. Design curriculum is also an optional piece of the program where if you're curious about learning how to use design tools, if you want to create a logo for yourself or your own personal brand or something like that, is something that there's not a whole class for it. It's not part of the core curriculum, but if you want to try to add some of those skills to your repertoire, we have an opportunity. An evening with and food for thought and company treks are opportunities for you to hear from maybe a lunchtime panel of people from the consulting industry, or an evening with somebody who has spent a career in public relations talking about their career path, those types of things. So just opportunities to, like I said, you maybe understand why I call them fringe benefits. They're not part of the curriculum necessarily, but they really enhance the experience in general. And it's a program that it's a cliche, but it's for sure true with MSC. You get out what you put in with the MSC program. So coming to class every Saturday is one thing. If you're able to attend as much of these things as possible, then you really kind of grow your experience even further. That was a whole lot, Nicole and Amanda. Do any of these extra things stick out to you? Do you remember taking advantage of any of this stuff?
Yes, I do. And I would say take advantage as much as you can, because it only enriches the program. Because you get different topics outside of what you're learning with the core curriculum and your electives, and these give you an opportunity to learn even more things. So if you have the time, make the time to go to these things, because they really are important.
Amanda, I know we're leaving you in 3 minutes, so I'm going to ask you my final question is, what advice do you have for anybody considering the MSc, or what do you wish you'd known before you started the program?
I wish I wish I had started it earlier in my career, to be honest.
Okay.
With you. I went in, nervous like anybody else, and came out. What I feel like I went in as a caterpillar and came out as a butterfly. So, the biggest advice I can give you is, if you really want to make a difference in your life, try MSC. It's a really good program. Like I said, I tell a lot of people about this program all the time. That's how much I love it. And it was the best choice for me. It has broadened my career in ways I never thought possible. And I am happy to be an alumni and always glad to come back and help where I can.
That's amazing. Amanda, thanks so much for joining us today. I know you have to run, but I really appreciate your insights, and I know everybody got a lot out of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Nicole, we'll keep going with you. Any of these kind of fringe benefits, what do you remember?
So take advantage of all of these if you end up joining the program. They really do help kind of tie things together, and the networking you get to do with the people who host these, or just the people in your cohort that show up. It's nice to be outside of the Saturday class environment, right? You get to see people in a different light and kind of slow down. I remember there was one event with Jean Sparrow. So if you're familiar, if you're like a local in the Chicago area and you know that name, if not, Google her, fantastic woman. She's also an alum of the program. She did an event that really spoke to your presence. And being in the entertainment industry, I feel like you just know, you can trust her with that information, but then the way that she presented it, and it seriously felt like your personal like masterclass or your personal TED Talk in a little auditorium on campus. And it was, 20 or 30 of my friends, right? MSC cohort, and then Jean, and it was just an incredible experience. And that was one of, like 20 that would have been offered since half my time was in COVID. Obviously there was some adapting and things like that, but I look forward to future events, for alum and things like that for sure.
No, that's great. The next piece is to talk briefly about career services, right? And so the assumption is that you're not all coming to a master's program so you can keep the same job and keep earning the same money. And so we have some career services available to that end, right? And so you can read through these. It's fairly self-explanatory, a lot of it, but I think that the career services are, first of all, we're one of the only communication programs in the country that even offers career services, which remains shocking to me. But the career services breadth and scope is very far-reaching. And so, yes, everything from polishing a resume and mock interviews for potential jobs to highly individualized one-on-one conversations with established, polished career coach to talk about what do I need to do in the next 18 months to reach my goal, my 5-year goal, and what should my 5-year goal be? What do I even like my career? These Pat Messina is our career coach for the MSC program and talks about how many of her one-on-one coaching sessions tend to be more therapy than anything else. And so having conversations in general about, where am I and what is my purpose in life are certainly part of the MSC experience. But the career services in general are also, it's important to point out, available to you for the rest of your life, not just for the 1 year that you're in the program. So even if you're not immediately thinking about a career change, it's something that you can come back to at any time in your career. Did you take advantage of any of the career services stuff, Nicole?
Yes, and since graduation. So I'm glad you just said that, Toby. Yeah, I've reached out to Pat since graduation. Her and I connected throughout my MSC experience. We got really close, and she got involved with kind of where I was going in my career and where I was frustrated. And so I was able to reach out to her after I graduated, and she was able to help me leverage where I was at, even with the pandemic, and kind of help guide some conversations I had. And hence, I got a special assignment from the Chief Risk and Compliance Officer. So clearly something I did got me something.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's terrific. Pat's amazing. And like I said, we're excited that we're able to offer these services.
Yeah.
Finally, last but not least is admissions. And so very quickly, here are the materials that are required for an application to the MSc program. A resume, we have you write an essay then talking about kind of why you want to be here and what you hope to contribute. We ask for 2 recommendations, academic transcripts, and then we'll do an interview. You can see there at the bottom, we don't require a standardized test, so no GRE or GMAT required for MSc. What are we looking for? So when evaluating applications, we're kind of asking 3 questions at all times. And the first question is, can you do the work? Can you manage the academic kind of rigor of the program? So we're using your transcript, your professional and academic history to help answer that question. Are your goals consistent with our program? Do you know what you're getting into, right? If you write an essay about, hey, I want the MSc to teach me to be an astronaut, then maybe we've missed the mark, right? This isn't the program for you. We want to make sure that you can, like I said, draw a straight line between what it is that you want to do and the MSc program. How do they connect? And then last but not least, you've heard Nicole and Amanda both talk about the incredibly important role that your classmates play in your experience. And the expectation is that you're contributing to that as well. So how do you hope to add value? What is it you hope your classmates learn from you, or how are you going to help assist them as they move through the program as well is a very important piece for us. And then we're on rolling admission. So our final application deadline isn't until June. So if you're part of this or watching this right now, then you have a lot of time to put an application together. And if you have any questions about this at all, then, please feel free to reach out to me or Kaylee, as we're happy to answer any questions about specific to the admissions process. And then last but not least, Nicole, you've been one of these for just a few months. The expectation is that if career change or advancement or personal growth are on your mind now, they're likely to be on your mind again in 3 to 5 years or 10 years or 20 years from now. And the MSC Alumni Association is going to play a role as you continue your career, right? And continue to advance and grow. And so we have just over 70 Northwestern staff who are alums of the MSC program. We just recently started trying to get this group together a little bit more regularly. We have a very active MSC Alumni Association, more than 1,800 graduates of the program alone. And then I know I don't have to talk to this group in particular about the value of the Northwestern Alumni Network, but just joining this kind of group is something, it's privilege for sure. To be associated with this group of people, and the connectedness and the opportunities to grow your professional and personal network beyond even the cohort that you go through the program with abound as you continue through your career after graduating from the program. So it's an important piece to consider for sure. We're way over time, but what questions are there? Does anybody have anything else that we haven't covered that they would like to talk about or are curious about? Please feel free to either unmute yourself or put it into the chat, and we'll try to answer any questions you might have. We've been quite comprehensive. That's my takeaway from not a lot of questions coming in, so that's fine.
I have a question. Hi,
Sure.
Toby.
Yeah, hi,
my name's Emma. I was wondering if there was a list of all of the kind of past occupations or employees and what departments they represent that have been in this program, just to see if mine is represented in that list, just to kind of just to see, all the backgrounds of departments that have been kind of come through the program. If that's
there absolutely is. I don't have it in front of me, but I can track it down and kind of send you the list of departments that are represented. Where are you working, Emma?
I work for the Feinberg School of Medicine and the Lurie Cancer Center. So it's a bit, I feel maybe different, and just wanted to see if anyone else with my background was included.
Yeah, no, I know off the top of my head 2 people that are in the that work in development at Feinberg that have come through the program, but we'll track down the list and send it your way anyway. But it's equally diverse, right? And so Nicole from the environmental and safety, Amanda from Kellogg. We have a nice group of people from development, admissions. It's just a wide range, change management. And then, well, Kaylee and I both work for the program here now, as well as 2 other alumni that work for the program. So if you come through the program and don't find what you want, then we'll hire you. So there's lots of opportunities. But yeah, it's a wide range of people at Northwestern as well, yeah. What else? Other questions? All right. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for joining us. Nicole, what do you wish you'd known?
I wish I would have known to apply sooner. I thought that, I could never get in. I could never do it. I could never afford it. Yeah, I got in. Yeah, I did it. And yeah, I afforded it. Ruth Ann and the benefits office is an incredible resource. They really help you crunch the numbers. Because there's tax implications, not saying that to make you nervous, just trying to make you informed. So benefits office is incredibly resourceful, but also apply. You can't say no to something you haven't been accepted into. So apply, get the yes, get that confidence, and then make your decision. Because that's what I did. And the moment I got accepted, I remember Toby called me. I remember exactly where I was on campus. And, it was then when I was like, oh, well, if they think I can do it, I can do it. So that's my advice. If you're in this call, that means you're interested. you know, go the extra mile and, you know, Emma, look into, you know, whoever you want to contact, see if you can find more information, but apply. That's my advice.
Great. I think it's great advice. I will second it. We have a couple events coming up tomorrow. You mentioned Professor Randy Iden. So tomorrow at noon, Randy is going to talk about mission and vision statements with us. Should be very informative. I've heard him talk about it before. He's really great with it. January 27th, we have a specific HLP alumni panel webinar at noon. And then February 3rd is the first impression workshop with Professor Michelle Shoemate. So mark those on your calendar. You're all going to get invitations to them, whether you want to or not. And we would love to see you again. So with that, I'm incredibly grateful to Nicole and Amanda both for joining today. Thank you so much. Your insights were terrific. I could listen to you talk all day long. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you to everybody else for attending today. Appreciate your time and patience and engagement. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us at msc@northwestern.edu. And hope to keep in touch and continue the conversation. Thanks so much for joining. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, Toby. Take
Thanks.
care, everybody.